Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be giving you my Sagittarius November 2018 horoscope forecast. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, first thing up is as far as November goes, the Sun will be in Scorpio from the 1st until the 22nd. So the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted at this time. There could be a strong concentration of energy, focus, and attention on restrictions, limitations, self-undoing, solitude, seclusion, hidden adversaries, an aunt, an uncle perhaps, and those less fortunate than yourself, such as the impoverished, the homeless, the hungry, the oppressed, and even in some cases clandestine affairs. Now, given this is Scorpio energy, these things may be done with a lot of emotional intensity, very willful, intractable energy, sometimes guile even, perhaps, and that could be used especially in terms of bringing out those hidden adversaries, those people that are pretending perhaps to be your friends and they really are not. Now, also a lot of these things, these 12th house matters can be done with a lot of resourcefulness, going through subterfuge, superficiality, and a lot of passionate energy, but may be done very secretively and surreptitiously. And you're talking about the 12th house, and that could be connected with what's hidden. This could be done in a very inconspicuous manner, activities as far as this period goes, given you're talking about Scorpio energy and the 12th house. So anyway, now in some cases this could shine the light, so to speak, on a Scorpio hidden adversary. It could be one it could be a Scorpio Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply one that embodies Scorpio-like characteristics. It might even kind of, in some cases, sadly, in isolated cases, it could shine the light perhaps on some kind of Scorpio-like, it could be a mental illness, could be something like obsessive or compulsive type thing. And I mean, given that it's Scorpio energy. So anyway, and of course, a lot of that would depend on the aspects that would make as well to points in your astrological chart. Anyway, next thing up, the Sun will be in Sagittarius as far as November goes, from the 22nd until the 30th. So the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted at this time. There could be a strong concentration of energy, focus, and attention on the self, self-interest, the physical body, especially if this is actually the first house in one's natal chart, one's outlook on life, the outer demeanor, that projection of self, the early childhood, new beginnings, first impressions, also even defense mechanisms in some cases. Now this could, and also the appearance now, and again, especially if this is actually the first house in one's natal chart. Now, this could be done with a lot of Sagittarius-like enthusiasm, exuberance, ebullience, expansive energy, a lot of optimistic and positive energy, jocularity, and effervescence. But even in some cases, this could even be very self-righteous energy. And I mean, just be guard against at this time, like if you're trying to make some new beginning, that you only that maybe you're open-minded to what other people want to say and being philosophical about it, because other people's opinions can count as well. So it's just something to remember during that period. Anyway, next thing up, there will be a new moon in Scorpio on November 7th, so the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted at this time. Well, in some cases, sadly, I mean, it could be a new Scorpio hidden adversary. It could be a Scorpio Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply one that embodies Scorpio-like characteristics. It could be some new dark mental illness. Well, in some isolated cases, it can be, but generally, it's really, in most cases, I don't see that as being the case, only in isolated cases, and a lot of it could depend on aspects. This makes the points in your natal chart, and if you already have, if you have a chart that might show a propensity toward that. Now, anyway, This could be a new period of weeding out hidden adversaries with guile and determination, and being able to go through subterfuge and superficiality. At this time as well, you might find yourself starting something or embarking on a Scorpio-like project in solitude or in seclusion. It could be some with astrology, the occult, locksmithing, something connected with some kind of transformation. It may be something like with rebuilding a vehicle or doing some kind of recycling work. Perhaps something that could be Scorpio, like in doing some investigation in privacy. Now, also, too, this could be, in some cases, this could be the start of a clandestine affair with a Scorpio Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or one that embodies Scorpio-like characteristics. It could be a new period of resiliency in terms of bouncing back in connection with matters of limitations and restrictions, and having that power perhaps to overcome them. Now, in some cases too, this could be about a period where you start, where you're showing emotional intensity and resourcefulness and very intractable energy in helping those perhaps less fortunate than yourself, such as the homeless, the impoverished, the hungry. So, anyway. Well, the next thing up is there will be a full moon in Gemini on November 23rd. So the 7th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, at this time for Sagittarius, this could be a time where this could reflect a completion or culmination of a Gemini-like project in which you collaborated with someone else on, or others. It could be something connected with data communications or some kind of writing, something connected with journalism, or something where a lot of dexterity was involved in, such as working on some vehicle or some kind of refrigeration mechanics, something with where dexterity figured prominently. Now, also too, this could also be a period where you may become simply tired, exasperated, full of perhaps a two-faced, superficial, vacillating, mercurial, and overly loquacious, a significant other. It could be a grandmother. It could be somebody, maybe an open enemy or open adversary. Perhaps in some cases, it could be someone you're in some kind of business partnership with. Now, in some other cases, too, this could be the unveiling or revelation of a Gemini open adversary. It could be a Gemini Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply a person that embodies Gemini-like characteristics. It could also be about a revelation or unveiling of perhaps some kind of superficial, two-faced. It could be a grandmother or a significant other, maybe someone you have some close friendship with or connection with. And also, too, you might be in a period where you might be becoming tired of spreading yourself too thin for others and being Mr. or Mrs. Versatility or diversification, whatever, and trying to do this and that for this person. And also, too, it could be a very full period, where you're really putting a lot of verbosity, a lot of Gemini energy into negotiation, a lot of communicative energy in negotiations with a lot of verbosity. And it could be where communication maybe might come to an end with the 7th house person. It could be, in some cases, this could be significant other. It could be a grandmother in some cases, or just someone you might have some close connection with. So, anyway, or it just could be something specific that you were communicating about. Do you decide to put an end to it? So it might not necessarily mean that all communications come to an end with one of those people. So anyway, next thing up is Mercury will be in Sagittarius as far as November. It will be in Sagittarius during November. It will be retrograde from the 17th until the 30th. And the 1st house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, at this time, Sagittarius, you may be more voluble, loquacious than usual. Sagittarius can be somewhat talkative anyway, but maybe even more so now. And you might be talking very optimistically and philosophically about yourself, about perhaps new Sagittarius-like beginnings you may want to start. It might be something connected with sports related, which I don't think would exclude working out, doing something connected with the outdoors, perhaps doing something adventurous, or it could be camping, it could be anything that could be Sagittarius related. And also, I mean, even and also about new and Sagittarius beginnings, even something with translation, perhaps. I have a friend that has Sagittarius rising, and he does work as a translator. Hold on a minute, people. Sorry about that, back again. Now, anyway, now as I've talked about previously, Mercury can be more than just about communications, and can be about siblings as well. Now, it could be that Sagittarius siblings, they could be Sagittarius Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Sagittarius-like characteristics, could figure more prominently in your outlook on life than usual, your appearance, and maybe even new beginnings as well. This could be another way this can manifest, perhaps, as having very candid, forthright communications, perhaps with people from your early childhood. And given it's going to be retrograde for about half the month, this could be about going back perhaps to philosophical discussions, and ones that where the veritable truth was spoken, very blunt, candid discussions about new beginnings, and perhaps your outlook on life as well. So anyway, next thing up is Venus will be in Libra. As far as it will be, Venus will be in Libra in November. It will be retrograde from the 1st until the 16th, and the 11th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted at this time. This could be a time where you may start to value peace more than even usual, and refinement, diplomacy, balance friendships and acquaintances at this time, valuing peace in those connections with your refinement and diplomacy as well, and balanced friendships and acquaintances. So anyway, it could also be where a Libra relationship, perhaps in some group, club, or organization you might connect with at this time. It could be a Libra. If you're unattached Sagittarius, it could be a Libra, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant person, or simply one that embodies Libra-like characteristics. This may manifest as well in very equitable, balanced spending in terms of the future, perhaps. And also this could be about enjoyment of Libra-like games with friends and acquaintances. It could be something like People's Court or Law and Order, and also really the enjoyment, expression of the really enjoying something that could be a Libra-like goal or aspiration. It could be something connected with art, which could be drawing, painting, sculpting as an example, something with the law, such as working as an attorney, a paralegal, a bailiff, perhaps, or a judge. So, and the fact it's going to be retrograde for about half the month, this could be about maybe perhaps a Libra relationship maybe that you had previously coming back to you, and it could be a Libra, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant person, or one that embodies Libra-like characteristics. It could be someone that might figure prominently in your future, your goals, your aspirations, or maybe in some kind of group, organization, or club scenario. So anyway, next thing up is Mars will be in Aquarius as far as November goes, from the 1st until the 15th. So the 3rd house is what will be emphasized and highlighted at this time. You might find yourself doing perhaps some kind of writing at this time that could be Aquarius, like it could be about something innovative, new concepts or ideas, computers, electronics, the future, perhaps aerospace. You may find yourself, too, taking more unpredictable short journeys, ones that are very spontaneous. You may find yourself becoming angry, perhaps at unusual, bizarre, idiosyncratic behavior from siblings, cousins, neighbors at this time. And also, though, expressing a lot of humanitarian and selfless energy with these people as well. And you might be doing so in terms of taking people like on short journeys and errands as well. You might find yourself getting more, the situation at this time with cousins, siblings, neighbors might be more acrimonious and contentious than usual. And you might find yourself getting into perhaps fights with friends a little bit more frequently. It could be over things that were said and communicated, given we're talking about the third house, or it could be about maybe having something to do with the short journey, such as maybe not coming through for someone on maybe running an errand for somebody, something like that nature. But also be more, during this time you might have a greater propensity toward more mental and physical energy at this time, but it might be rather sporadic and erratic. Anyway, next thing up is Mars will be in Pisces as far as November goes, from the 15th until the 30th. So the fourth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, you may see yourself at this time becoming perhaps angry at maybe a deceptive, duplicitous, indolent, lazy family member or someone you feel close to home with. This could be a time too where you have to guard against maybe having accidents in the home, maybe by just lack of, just not seeing what's around the corner, so to speak. Pisces energy could be lacking in details and observation, so it's really very careful to just watch where you're going and seeing the details, so to speak, at home, because it's a lot easier at this time to get something to happen, and it could be more propensity for cuts. Look around, being careful for sharp objects or stepping on something that could give you like a cut in your foot or your toe. Remember that Pisces is associated with the feet and toes. Now, you might find yourself dealing with putting a lot of energy into dealing with chaotic situations at home. You may become a little bit more angry and acrimonious about who you are at the core. And it could be maybe where you see yourself maybe as somewhat indolent, or somebody that's a dreamer and really not somebody and just maybe fantasizing a lot but not really acting upon the things your dreams and what you're fantasizing on. This could also be perhaps more it could be more combative situations, arguments with the less dominant parent, which is often the mother, and family members, people you're at home with in general, over things of a spiritual nature. It could be over dreams or something with the metaphysical related. It could include astrology. It could be over something that could be Pisces related. You might even find yourself at this time maybe fulfilling a sexual fantasy with someone you feel close to home with. It could be a Pisces. It could, in some cases, this could actually be a Pisces sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply one that embodies Pisces-like characteristics. Next thing up, Jupiter will be in Scorpio as far as November goes, from the 1st until the 8th. So the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, Sagittarius, this could be very fortuitous for perhaps conquering hidden adversaries through subterfuge, for using guile perhaps. It could be a time where you express a lot of more jocularity and jovial energy in private than usual. It could be in solitude and seclusion with people that are prominent in your private life. This could be with a lot of caustic and subtle type humor. At the same time, this could be a time where you might, as I've talked about previously, Jupiter, it's very paradoxical. It could be very strongly benign and benevolent, but it could also have a tendency to enlarge and expand, and it may enlarge and expand surreptitious, nefarious, even manipulative behavior, perhaps from people in your private life. It could be an aunt or an uncle. It could even be people that are in some less fortunate situation than you and might be trying to take advantage of your kindness, your goodwill, your benevolence, as an example. Could also be, in some cases, this could be about dealing, in some cases, if you have one, most cases this wouldn't be the case, but it could expand some kind of Scorpio-like mental illness. It could be something with some obsessive or compulsive energy. And really, and sometimes it could be if you're really enlarging at this time, ultra suspicious energy, which could be Scorpio energy. It could be maybe, and really in controlling behavior, this could wind up leading to self-undoing, since this is the 12th house. So anyway, next thing up is, as far as November goes, Jupiter will be in Sagittarius from the 8th until the 30th. So the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time for Sagittarius, well, as I've talked about before, Jupiter can have that tendency to enlarge and expand. I mean, it's not just about being benign and really benevolent. It could also be, it could also have a tendency to expand things. Hold on a minute, people. Sorry about that. Anyway, could also have a tendency to expand the waistline, so to speak, and a tendency to gain weight during this time. Sagittarius often is a heavier sign anyway, so it's important to be extra prudent and careful during this time, as eating certain things, and like watching sports and sitting down maybe for too long, being too stagnant for too long, and maybe indulging too much. It could be about overindulgence during this time. Now, this could also be, and again, talking about the tendency to enlarge and expand, it could expand Sagittarius qualities and characteristics, which could be good and bad ones. I mean, good, for example, being the jocularity, the jovial, humorous side, the benevolent, the goodwill part of Sagittarius, the real optimistic and very buoyant and exuberant side. But it could also expand, in some cases, self-righteous behavior, foolhardy and reckless behavior as well, and might even do so maybe with a person you may know from your early childhood. Now, could also be very fortuitous for Sagittarius new beginnings. It could be something connected with adventure or traveling abroad, doing something with translation or sports or publishing. So anyway, you might see yourself even more humorous than you ordinarily are on a first impression, not just because we're talking about Jupiter, but because it's going to be expanding Sagittarius-like characteristics. So anyway, next thing up, Saturn will be in Capricorn still, so the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, Sagittarius, you might find yourself dealing with more restrictions and limitations on a monetary level at this time. It might be making you feel somewhat despondent and melancholy. You may find yourself in some cases taking care of a sickly or debilitated person that perhaps it could be somebody that you generate income with. This could be, it could be something connected with the person's knees, their bones, their joints, and this could be making you somewhat dejected and forlorn. So also too, this could also manifest about really, it could be very laborious government-related work, and really in also gaining structure, discipline, in values at this time. You may feel that your self-esteem and self-worth is somewhat limited during this time, and it might take a lot of laborious work to be able to get that back if you feel like you are losing it at this time. There might be more fears over monetary matters, and older people might factor in more at this time than usual to your self-esteem and self-worth and monetary matters, resources, possessions, and whether they factor in positively or negatively, and may be predicated on the aspects this makes to points in your natal chart. Let's say if it makes a good aspect to Jupiter, it could be very fortuitous maybe for these things. But if it makes an adverse aspect to it, then the opposite might happen, and might have really a deflating kind of energy on these matters. So anyway, well, the next thing up is Uranus will be in Taurus as far as November goes, from the 1st until the 6th. So the 6th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, in some cases, this could be about the formulation of new financial ideas. maybe to do something where you don't have to maybe be in some kind of employment situation where you might become self-employed. Remember, Uranus is also about freedom and independence. Now, also, too, another way this could manifest perhaps is that perhaps Taurus friendships might figure more prominently in your daily routine, in your employment. It could be service rendered perhaps, and maybe even in health-related matters. Now, it could be Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Taurus-like characteristics. You might see more unusual, stubborn, obstinate behavior by others in your daily routine. You might see that maybe your pet you may have, if you do have one, might be acting a little bit strangely during this time. It could also be where you may be dealing with some kind of enigmatic illness at this time, one that could be maybe a little bit stubborn and persistent as well. I have Uranus almost exactly conjunct my 6th house cusp in my natal chart, and I have extensive nerve damage. Uranus could be connected with the nerves, so it's something to be careful of during this time, and more of a propensity toward electric shocks in your daily routine and maybe in your work life more so than usual. It could even be something where you're working out or doing something health related, which you could get this from, because that could be connected with damaging the nerves, because sometimes when you have nerve damage, you can get like these shock sensations in your body that feel like shocks, because I've had them before. So anyway, next thing up is Uranus will be in Aries as far as November goes, from the 6th until the 30th. So the 5th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time, you might find yourself dealing with more volatile, unpredictable behavior, perhaps from children, from lovers, perhaps could be someone you're in some kind of casual, superficial connection with. This could be a time, too, where Aries friendships might figure more prominently in your fun, your amusement, enjoyment. It might even wind up being someone that turns into a lover, perhaps. It could be an Aries, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or people, or simply someone that embodies Aries-like characteristics. You might find yourself, too, at this time doing something Uranus-like. That could be a thing of a hobby or a thing of amusement. It could be something like, could be something with electronics, computers, astrology, aerospace, even model rockets. That could be like rocket science, but only on a much lower scale, you could say. And your love life and your fun, amusement, enjoyment might be more erratic and sporadic than usual. And you might be also really having a lot of enjoyment, perhaps, and really doing things that are innovative and maybe even pioneering. These could be things that could be of strong amusement and enjoyment for yourself. So, and also, too, in terms of personal popularity, that might have some fluctuations during this time, and that could be very, Uranus energy can be very erratic and sporadic. So anyway, next thing up is Neptune will still be in Pisces, so the 4th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Now, at this time, you may find that your home life may be very chaotic and confusing and confounding. In some cases, you may find yourself dealing with some kind of maybe flooding in the home. There could be some gas leak that you might be in danger of there, and also could be some inadvertent chemical assimilation at the home, such as radon. Now, also, this could be this could manifest in the dissolving and dissipation of maybe your home and family life. To some degree, it could be with somebody you might feel close at home with. And also, there may be some confusion of where you want to be in terms of your latter part of life. If you're already in that latter part of life, you may be going through some confusion during this time. And also your roots and ancestry, you might see where maybe there's something that's somewhat nebulous or unclear at this time, and also maybe some confusion of who you are at the core. That might seem somewhat nebulous and unclear at this time. And sadly, too, this could sometimes manifest in a home or family member, someone you're close at home with, becoming involved in some kind of drugs or alcohol use at this time. But on a positive end, you may find yourself becoming interested doing something Neptune-like. That could be in your home or you feel close at home with. It could be something connected with the metaphysical, which could include astrology, photography, chemistry, doing poetry, dancing, something that could be Neptune related. Last but not least, Pluto will be in Capricorn still, so the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted at this time. Well, I know a lot of you don't want me to say the dreaded D word, but you know I'm going to anyway. This could reflect in some cases the death, a literal death, of maybe somebody that you generate income with. It could be someone that was prominent in your possessions, your resources. This could feel like there might be some destruction or obliteration of your self-esteem and self-worth. Hold on again one more time, people. Sorry about that again, I'm back. And also, too, you might find where this could be some transformation in connection with the way you make money and generate income. During this time, you might find yourself trying to attain more power and control over your finances, your possessions, your resources. If you've been in a situation where you've been more dependent on others at this time, or you've been in this shared resources situation where you've been getting assistance monetarily, you might find where at this time you might be more desirous of more power and control in those things. This could be a time, too, where you might find yourself generating income and making money doing something Pluto-related, such as something with the supernatural, the occult, astrology, something with transformation like recycling, or even rebuilding something like an engine or a vehicle, doing something connected with death, which could be, for example, doing something like working as a coroner or embalming. So those are some, and again, when we're talking about, I mean, this could also reflect the obliteration of some kind of monetary situation or even finances at this time. But remember, when Pluto can have that tendency to destroy and obliterate, it's also about rebirth and regeneration. It could be about getting reclamation of power back in those situations. So a lot of times when something is destroyed with Pluto, it can often be supplanted and replaced later on. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my Sagittarius November 2018 horoscope forecast. Stay tuned next time where I will be giving you my Capricorn November 2018 horoscope forecast. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.